to me, unacceptable, the level of effort that they had, but I think that there is a larger conversation to be had here. And I want to give you guys the floor here first. CJ, will go to you. This is the record that Indiana has against top 50 opponents. They beat Penn State last week. Other than that, their other 5 games against top 50 opponents, according to KenPom, 28-point loss to Louisville, 16-point loss to Nebraska, 17-point loss to Gonzaga, 25-point loss to Iowa, and this 25-point loss tonight to Illinois. What is happening with Indiana, CJ?
I think they just give up. Like, there was a possession with about 5:30 left in the first half. I don't know if you guys made it that far. Did you guys make it that far? Turn it off before
quite.
then?
Not quite.
So there's a possession with 5:30 left, and I encourage you to go back and watch it because it's a 3-on-1 for Illinois, and they kind of bobble it, and it almost goes out of bounds, and they throw it back out, and the defense is set. Avicic tries to throw a one-handed pass, and Omar Ballo actually deflects it, and so it's a loose ball again. It ping-pongs over to, I think, Kasparis. He throws it out. Dude tries to go in to dunk it, gets stripped. And all the while this is happening, and then an Illinois guy gets it, lays it in. But all the while this is happening, Omar Ballo is just kind of watching and, like, slow walking back towards the paint. And Illinois gets the layup. And what does Indiana do? What does Coach Woodson do? He just lets it keep going. They just keep playing. Ballo doesn't come out the rest of the half. He played the rest of the half after, like, watching a loose ball just in front of him and just being like, whatever. And then, you know, they play him in drop coverage tonight. Like, that's a terrible strategy against those Illinois dudes. And it's almost like everybody is out there playing for themselves. Everybody's playing defense for themselves. When, you know, they had the pop on the drop coverage, like, dude was just hitting rhythm threes. There's no, like, bluffing, you know, going towards the ball, somebody else helping towards the ball. It's just a pretty pathetic effort. And that's just kind of sad when you're at home. Like, you watch Florida tonight, and I don't know what the result's going to be, but Missouri was making every single shot, but Florida kept battling, and now it's a game. I guess looks like Mizzou's probably going to win, but hey, it turned into a game. So, Indiana, it's a 40-minute game. Maybe they could have made it a game. They didn't because they just kind of gave up.
RC?
I didn't see that possession because I turned it off. I saw enough plays of lack of effort from Indiana. In one respect, I get to what you're saying about leaving Mike Woodson leaving and Ballo in the game, because if you don't deem he's playing hard, I'm not taking you out. I'll just leave you out there to get embarrassed. I understand the logic in that, or what he's thinking with that. But Rob, you and I were talking about this. I don't know what else you do when you make that much of an investment into a guy, and he's not playing hard. Is he upset because he's not getting the ball? We said this a couple of weeks ago. It looks like it's about to implode, and I said that this team looks like it's about to implode, and a week ago, this team was 13-3. And even now, we're sitting here right now after 2 ass kickings, because that's what they've got the last 2 games. They've been blown out in this ass kickings. They haven't really beaten anybody, and now the honeymoon's over. I mean, their schedule here, it's at Ohio State, at Northwestern, home against Maryland, at Purdue, at Wisconsin, Michigan, and Michigan State. Like, that's their schedule coming up next. And they're 13-5, but I have zero faith that they're going to figure this shit out and that they're going to come out and compete and that they're going to win even 2 or 3 of those games at this point. So the question becomes, what do you do if you're Mike Woodson? Do you bench guys? I mean, I expect something drastic to happen now. If you're going to lose, just lose your way. But I couldn't roll the ball out there and watch my team get beat by 30 like that. And as players, you got to have more pride. You just got your ass kicked by 25 the hour, and then you come out today and it was worse than that. Like, I turned it off, and I was like, I'm not watching that shit. I won't even watch him again this year. Like, that's bad.
Yeah, look, the thing about it is it's not the first time we've seen them get embarrassed like this, right? Like, the Louisville game, they lost by 28. They were down by 40 in the second half. They just rolled over and died. Right. Like, the same thing happened here against Illinois. Like, they were able to at least make it somewhat respectable late, so that if you just happen to look at the box score, you're not saying, oh, wow, like we had to shut that one off. It's like, oh, yeah, they got beat by Illinois, whatever. To me, the level of effort that you're getting out of that team is unacceptable when you spent over $5 million in NIL, because they've spent over $5 million in NIL. And that is on the coach, to me, right? If you can't get your guys ready to play, then why are you there? You can come up with all these schemes, and you can come up with the way that you want to defend, and you can come up with game plans. All of that stuff works, right? But what makes great teams great, what allows you to win, is being able to get guys to buy into roles, to get guys to buy into the game plan that you have, to get guys to want to fight and win. Like, if your team doesn't want to compete, then there's nothing you can do as a coach. But if you can't get them ready to compete, like, that is on you, right? Like, you got to be able to get them out there where they actually seems like they care about winning. And I'll tell you this, it doesn't seem like that team really cares all that much about winning. We already know that there's been suspensions with players because they were pictured the night before a game out in the bar, right? We've already seen them go to the Bahamas and had players get pictured at blackjack tables at like 1 o'clock in the morning before an 11 a.m. tip off. Right? Like that, it's very clear to me that these guys aren't taking this shit seriously. And that is a more problematic thing, CJ, than anything that actually happens on the court. Like, if the motivation and the desire isn't there, then that is from the top on down. That is something that the tone is set by the guy that's running that program. And that if I'm an Indiana fan, if I'm someone in that athletic department, to me, that is unacceptable, the level of effort that they've had.
Before you comment, I'll say this. I'll say this. Look, Mike's got to take all the heat on that. There's no doubt. It all starts with him. But as a player, you're at a fucking casino or you're out at a bar the night before a game, that's on you. Like that, like there's certain stuff. There's not a coach in college basketball is sitting out having his staff go to bars looking for his players and all of that. You just said, for the money that they're spending, that's on the guys. That's on the players. And again, Mike got to take the bullet. He got to fall on the sword for it because it's his program, it's his. But as a player, if that's what you're doing, you deserve to get your ass kicked. And some of this got to fall on them as well. This is why I think sometimes going forward here in the immediate future, we got to this has got to be contracts, and you got to have things written in this contract. Like we have got to get to this point because we say what we want about it as well. That part of it is not on Mike. And I'm not defending him because it's not defendable. He's the head coach. He got to deal with it. But if you got guys doing that the night before games and everything that's been documented with this program, that's on some of these guys. And then I bet you, and they still hollering about or thinking that they're pros. Man, get out of here with that. Like, they got to take some of this ownership of some of this as well.
Go ahead, CJ.
I'm with you. I just don't understand how you don't play hard. Like that's just a simple thing. Like, how do you not play hard? Whether you're getting paid, whatever, have some pride, play hard. And it's almost shameless plug alert. I just did a story on Jim Crutchfield, Nova Southeastern D2 coach. His guys play about as hard as anybody you'll see in college basketball. And one thing that he always says is he can tell if a guy's playing hard by watching behind the ball. And if you watch behind the ball of an Indiana game, it tells you the whole story. And one thing I want to ask you guys is, like, if this is fixable, like, they do have talent, but what do you do with Omar Ballo? Because to me, it looks like he is a gifted offensive player. And if you run high-low stuff for him, he's going to score. He can post-pin guys. But he just looks out of shape to me. Like, he looked like he was on his heels defensively in that drop coverage, and he can't get up and down the floor very quickly, and he can't flip his hips or anything. Like, he's just has a hard time moving out there, and I don't know if you can defend at a high level with him out there.
You can't.
That's part of the problem, is why people don't run their offense through guys like that. When your best player is a low post guy that's best in a dunker spot or a jump hook around the rim. You mentioned before about playing in drop coverage. He has to play in drop coverage because he can't defend on the perimeter. But he's not. He has to be in drop coverage. And if he's going to be the number one option offensively, you're in trouble.